Lebanon is marking the first anniversary of a massive explosion in the port of the capital, Beirut. The blast killed some 200 people, injured thousands and flattened large parts of the city, including shops, offices and homes. The explosion was caused by tons of ammonium nitrate, that's a fertilizer that had been for years improperly stored at the city's port. Much of what was destroyed is still yet to be rebuilt. Well, 1 year on, lawmakers and security officials are accused of negligence. Calls are growing for the Lebanese parliament to lift their immunity. Meanwhile, an investigation remains stalled and families of the victims are still waiting for answers about why their loved ones had to die. DW's Rebecca Ritters has this report.
Hazardous loved her job. The young paramedic had finally managed to break into the nearly all-male world of the Beirut Fire Department. She was on top of the world.
She used to wear the uniform and put mascara, then put lipstick, then like she's going out. I admired her because I was so proud that I have such a brave girl. And look where her bravery got her.
On August 4th, 2020, Sahar and 9 of her colleagues were called to a fire at the port. In this video taken by Sahar, her colleagues shout out for backup. It seemed routine. Then, this. Beirut changed forever. 1 year on, Sahar's family are still searching for answers.
They won't come back, we know that. But at least for them, we want to know who did this to them. Every day, every night, you sleep with the pain in your heart. Is it really 1 year without her? Yes, we have.
For the families of these victims, moving on without justice is impossible.
An ongoing investigation has so far failed to find any real answers. And efforts to bring those to account but thought to be responsible for what happened here have been hampered by a convoluted system of political immunity. 1 year on, the same questions remain. How did Lebanon get here? How were thousands of tons of explosive material able to be stored so close to the city for so many years? Who is to blame, and will they ever be brought to justice?
The Herty family lost 3 men, their son Shabel, his cousin and his uncle. All firefighters who, like Sahar, put themselves in danger for public service, only to be let down by the representatives of their near-failed state.
Here on earth, we just want 1% of the truth. In heaven, I'm sure God will take care of the rest. We're just asking for 1% of the truth. That's all the justice we need.
But Shabel's father has no faith that any progress will come from inside the country.
It's a lost cause. Our only hope is if the international community were to help us with an official investigation.
Shabel's mother finds it hard to speak, the family tells us, since losing her son. But she keeps his memory close to her heart. And while the country mourns with her, the flag at half-mast, the wreckage that remains is a constant reminder of the justice not yet served.
Joining me now here in the studio is DW's Jafar Abdul Karim. Jafar, you've just come back from Beirut, where you hosted the latest edition of your popular talk show, Jafar Talk. You did that right at the harbour, as we can see, in the middle of the destruction there. You met other people that are still looking for justice. Tell us about them.
I met families who lost their beloved ones. I met politicians. I met activists. But the thing that stays when you come back now to Berlin and you really think about it is the situation of the people who lost their beloved ones, because till now they still don't know who's responsible for losing their beloved ones. They don't know any new information that's after 1 year, and this makes you really think, how could this be, and why is it like this? And this is exactly the questions they are having now.
And the people of Beirut have to cope with a dysfunctional government, what Rebecca Ritters called a convoluted system of immunity there in her story, and a flawed investigation. Do the Lebanese people think they will ever see justice?
They want and they would love to think that they will see justice. But according to what I saw and I observed and talking to them, they also have a feeling that there might be no justice because corruption is very high when it comes to Lebanon, according to Transparency International. And when we take a very concrete example, the leading investigator, Judge Bitar, requested some high officials, and till now they are not lifting the immunity so they can talk to them and investigate. And this is a very concrete example that maybe justice will not be happening one day in Lebanon for this concrete explosion. And what you also see that people don't give up. They're still going to the streets. But if I compare to 1 year ago, it's not the same energy, it's not the same power, it's not the same will. What I felt and what I saw is people are somehow like losing hope.
Tired out,
yes.
Probably. You were in Beirut right after the blast,
yes.
and then several times since then. Is that what has changed, that people really seem to have lost hope?
Besides losing hope, we're looking now at the port, and we see what's happening. And from the perspective we're seeing now is what's happening after the explosion. But there is also a life behind that, the daily life. No electricity, maybe some hours. If you want to buy medicaments for your child, you don't find the right thing. Milk is not also available. If the amount that you need, even if you look at basic things that you would like to have, vegetables, also not available and maybe very, very expensive. And if you want to just tank fuel for your car, you wait for hours. And this is the simply daily life basics you need in your everyday life. And this is getting to be a challenge. And so you can imagine how life is now in Beirut, in Lebanon.
So do you see any chance that sort of the people who are now very, very tired with everything,
yes.
that they will force change in some way?
I mean, if there's no change, they will suffer even more. And this is going to be the question. Is it for me, after being in Lebanon, is the question the will of the people, or is it a very high corrupted political system that need to be changed? And how is this going to happen? Because people have been protesting and demonstrating since years, but if we look to the facts, there's no change happening on a political system, and the political system, according to organization, is the problem because it's corrupted. There is maybe one small hope. Next year, there are going to be elections, and so the people can vote and maybe decide who they want in the political system.
DW's Jafar Abdul Karim, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And of course, to our viewers, you can watch the current edition of Jafar Talk on DW's Arabic service and of course on YouTube. I highly recommend it.
Specialists from German maritime logistics company Combilift inspect chemical remains stored in Beirut port after nearly 3,000 tons of ammonium nitrate exploded there a year ago, laying waste to the heart of the city and killing hundreds. The containers and barrels that survived still posed a threat, with many damaged. Some were potentially explosive, others highly toxic. Since Combilift got to work, it's removed and disposed of 59 containers.
It took us 6 months in order to clean the port of the chemicals and to make them safe again for the transportation. No, we did our job. Everything is already in Germany and went through the disposal. The job is done. It's finished. So it took us in total 10 months of operations.
Eventually, Beirut will be rebuilt, but not before the cleanup is finished. 500,000 cubic meters of debris and scrap are still lying around here, riddled with chemicals. Combilift is in talks with the Lebanese government for the contract to remove this debris as well. It wouldn't cost the struggling country anything. The company says selling the cleaned wreckage as scrap metal would cover its costs. It also says it's up to politicians to prevent a repeat.
We all know that the port was misused for many years as a storage area, which is not the normal use of a port. It should be import and export. So I think it's more a political issue, and that should be addressed and should be changed for good in the future.
Sparked by welding work, the explosion left over 300,000 homeless and 70,000 jobless. Housing, hospitals and schools were devastated, along with the economy. A year later, inflation is at 50% and thousands still struggle to feed themselves.
Now, the problems facing the people of Lebanon a year after the explosion seem overwhelming. But as our special correspondent Rebecca Ritters reports now, there are also moments of hope, such as the birth of little baby George, who took his first breath just 1 hour after the deadly blast.
Little does baby George know he was born under the most unusual circumstances. A looming pandemic, an unprecedented economic collapse, and in the midst of the biggest non-nuclear explosion in history. His father Edmund recounts with me the story of the day he was born. He captured it all on video.
I kept recording, I don't know I was recording.
Emmanuel was wheeled into the delivery room, and then the explosion hit.
We were in an experience giving birth as a first timers, and then we moved into survival mode.
1 hour and 10 minutes later, baby George was born. These videos soon went viral, and George became a symbol of hope for a country reeling from an unthinkable disaster. But all that seems a world away in his happy family home on the outskirts of Beirut.
On that day, we were lucky. Like, we were one of the only people in Lebanon, or few people in Lebanon, that were really lucky. We went in with 7 people and we came out with 8.
Edmund and Emmanuel are more than aware of the problems facing their country. On top of the trauma, a lack of certainty about where their country is headed makes life harder. But these new parents are choosing to stay positive for their baby boy.
Since having George was our only hope since after the explosion. So we had to give him a good time. It's not his fault what we went through. So we're not ready to give him a bad side of life. We're going to show him the good side of life.
For now, hope is all the family have as they look out to a Lebanon with an uncertain future.